Hey guys, welcome to Magic Stew. Now you may have noticed, some of the astute people may have, that I'm not Liam, I'm also not Kyle, I'm also really not Owen. So you may be wondering, who am I? Well, I'm Garret. Nice to meet you guys. This is the first video I've made for the channel. So the name of the deck is Esper Dynomate. You'll see why in a second. So we're a classical Esper control list, sort of, not really though. But we've got Reanimator themes. So let's just get started. We start off with our Reanimator targets. We've got Griselbrand, we've got Iona, and we've got Nesahal, who we're just going to call Nessie for now. Nessie is the dino in the name, by the way. So we'll start with the Griselbrands first. Griselbrand's a really good card. We're never going to pay the 8 mana, so it really doesn't matter. He's a 7/7, he's got flying, he's got lifelink. We can pay 7 life after we hit with him and draw 7 cards? We just get to draw a new hand. There's a reason why Griselbrand is Banded Commander. We also have 1 copy of Iona. Worst comes to worst, she's probably the hardest out of all of our cards to cast. So when she comes into play, we can just name a color. So let's say they're playing Mono Red. They can't cast that color. So Mono Red can't play now. We also, if we play a blue deck and they let us resolve anything that brings her back, they just lose. They can't win. They can't cast any blue spells. We have also got Nesahal. So Nessie is a great card. If we have to cast her for 7 mana, which is honestly not that much, don't get me wrong, it's a lot, but it's the easiest out of all of them to cast. It can't be countered. You're not stopping it. It's just getting on there. It also gives us no maximum hand size. So if we have both a Griselbrand and a Nessie in play, we can just pay 7 life and not have to worry about discarding down to 7. It's also really good because whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, we get a draw card. So let's say they want to kill Nessie. Oh, we get a card. And worst case scenario, discard 3 cards, exile her, and bring her back, which is really amazing. We'll get to more on why the discarding 3 cards really doesn't hurt us in a second. Here are our reanimation spells. We've got 4 Unburial Rites, 1 Makeshift Mannequin, and 3 Goryo's Vengeance. So Unburial Rites is just an amazing card overall. 5 mana, it's a lot. You won't be paying 5 mana though. Usually I cast it for 4. Makeshift Mannequin is also really good. It's like Unburial Rites, but on steroids. Actual steroids, because we can cast it at instant speed. It's always 4 mana, but it does have the drawback of if it becomes a target of a spell or ability, we have to sacrifice that creature. We also have Goryo's Vengeance. Goryo's Vengeance is 2 mana instant, which is semi-important. If we need to resurrect something at instant speed, it lets us do that, but usually we really aren't doing it for that. But it allows us to give a creature haste. That's the important part, though. So it allows us to go, bring back Griselbrand, hit 7, draw 7 cards. Bring back Nessie, hit you for 7. Heck, if you want to, you can bring back Iona. They can't cast spells for the turn. Usually that's pretty bad. The other thing is Makeshift Mannequin and Goryo's Vengeance can lose their drawback. Usually we have to remove the creature at the end of the turn with Goryo's Vengeance. If we have Nessie, we can just discard 3 cards. And we get a blinker and keep her because of the wording on the card. Same with Makeshift Mannequin. If they want to make us sack it, we just, in response, blink Nessie. We play Goryo's Vengeance into Nessie. We attack for 7. And now end step, we're going to discard, let's just say an Unburial Rites and a Griselbrand and whatever, a land. Well, guess what? Next turn, Unburial Rites to the Griselbrand. We got there! It's really, really good. Nessie, if we get her out, allows us to just take any big spells that might be in our hand and just throw them into the graveyard, which is where we would prefer them to be. Let's move on to the discard and draw outlets. We've got 4 Thirst for Knowledge, 2 Gifts Ungiven, and 2 Jace. So Thirst for Knowledge is a really good card. It allows us to draw 3 cards and then ditch 2 cards. So it also is instant speed, which is very, very important. It also just allows us to cycle through our deck really easily, like maybe we're stuck on a mana, we need 1 more mana to get there, we need an Unburial Rites to get there, we need a Nessie to get there. It's perfect. Gifts Ungiven is... There's a secret to Gifts Ungiven. Now, I'll quickly read to you what it does. So it's 4 mana, instant speed. Search your library for up to four cards with different names and reveal them. Then our opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest into your hand. Then you get to shuffle your library. Now, maybe like, it's good. It's definitely good. I can see why Storm plays it. Well, we also play it for a very, very, let's just say, complicated reason. The key word in here is up to 4. When we cast the Gift Ungiven, we just pick 2. 2, 2, 2. You're almost never going to pick more than 2, because your 2 targets are going to be Unburial Rights and literally anything else. Pick a Nessie in there, put an Iona in there, because our opponent has to put them in our graveyard, and they have to put the Unburial Rights and the Nessie in the graveyard. Oh, and just next turn, we'll just Unburial Rights back the Nessie. Trust me, it's a secret tech. There's a reason why Canadian Highlander runs this too. We've also got Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Jace is 2 mana. He's a 0/2. He can block if we absolutely need to, but he's really there so we can draw, then discard. Now, we're almost always going to have more than 5 cards, so he'll flip. We really don't care about the flip as much. I'd rather get the draw and the discard than actually be able to flip him. I feel his side doesn't do as much. Don't get me wrong, it's good. We can always flash back a makeshift mannequin or something, but honestly, I'd rather have the front side more than anything else. Continuing here, we've got 2 Champion of Wits. When Champion of Wits enters the battlefield, we get to draw 2 cards and then discard 2. Or we can eternalize him at 7 mana and draw 4 cards and discard 2. So, drew 2 lands, discard 2 lands if we need to. Oh, drew a Nessie, discard Nessie. Oh, cast the Unburial Rights. Ooh, we got there again. And he's 3 mana. It leads perfectly into our Unburial Rights turn. We also have Snapcaster Mage as a 2 of, and Thought Scour as a 4 of. Thought Scour is nice because it allows us to cut down on the amount of lands we might need to run, but it also allows us to just put things into our graveyard, which is usually a good thing for a Reanimator deck. Milling into, you're usually not going to mill into your Reanimator target, but it doesn't have it. The one time you do, it feels really, really good. Snapcaster Mage is also really good because it allows us to just bring back Thought Scour. It allows us to bring back some other cards we'll talk about right now. We've got 3 Path to Exiles, 3 Fatal Pushes, and 3 Mana Leaks. So Snapcaster Mage is really where this disruption thing shines. We can always cast a Path to Exile 1 turn, Snapcaster Mage, cast the Path to Exile again, or same with Fatal Push. Heck, we can do that with a Mana Leak. Mana Leak's really good in Modern because just throwing them off their turn can just sometimes disrupt a deck so badly that some of them can't really deal with it. Even the 3 mana, late game it's not going to matter too much, but usually it's pretty good. Fatal Push is really good because fetches, automatic Revolt trigger right there. That's a 4-drop kill right there. I prefer them in matchups where there's more aggressive decks. So like, if your meta has a lot of goblins or stuff, you might want to go down a Path to Exile and go up a Fatal Push. And I say that because Path to Exile is really good against bigger decks. The Eldrazi decks and such is less good against aggro decks because you get a land out of their deck. Now you're probably like, who cares? It's just a land. Maybe cutting down that 1 land won't matter too much, but sometimes it does. Next we'll move on to lands. We have True Drowned Catacombs, 2 Flooded Strand, 2 Glacial Fortress, 1 Godless Shrine, 2 Hollowed Fountain, 1 Island, 2 Isolated Chapel, 2 Marsh Flats, 1 Plains, 4 Polluted Delta, 1 Swamp, and 2 Watery Graves. Now, that's a lot of different lands right there. There's a lot of non-basic lands, which kind of sucks because if someone throws in a Blood Moon, we're kind of really, really screwed. That's why we have the 1 of the Island, we have the 1 of the Plains, and we have the 1 of the Swamp. Because we can always, I don't know, crack a Polluted Delta in response. We can do a lot of stuff in response to a Blood Moon, but it's going to hurt no matter what. It also helps protect us against Ghost Quarters and a lot of other stuff. If they want to blow up one of our lands, we just find another land. Other than that, though, I tried this deck with all Pain lands and fetches. It didn't work out too great. Usually it was really bad against aggro decks because, oh, you want to get a land? That's going to be 3 life right there. So I found that adding the buddy lands made it a lot easier. This is probably where the deck takes on a lot of its expenses. you know, other than the Snapcaster Mage, who is $60. Next, we move on to the sideboard. We've got a 2 of Bitter Blossom, we have a 2 of Collective Brutality, and a 2 of Damnation. We also have a 1 of Liliana, just because I wanted to slot her in. She's really cool. If we drop her, we can usually mill ourselves into something, or return a creature back from the graveyard, like an Iona. I just really like her. And if we get to ultimate her, usually our opponent loses. So we have 2 Damnation for aggro decks. Usually if you cast the Damnation and their whole board's gone, and you put them in top deck mode, because our deck can usually live long enough against those decks to be able to cast a Damnation. We also have 2 Collective Brutalities. Collective Brutality is a really, really good card in this deck. I was running 4 of them in my original version. I just felt it didn't do enough. We can cast it and discard maybe an Unburial Rites to it. We can discard a Nessie to it and just get surprise value. It also is really good against aggro decks because we can kill a creature, we can maybe take something out of their hand, or we can just gain some life against them, which it's not a lot of life, but it's enough that it might throw them off. We also have 2 Bitter Blossoms. They just put creatures into play, and if we need to apply a little bit more pressure, Bitter Blossoms is pretty good. Our sideboard also has a 2 of Tidehauler Scholar, a 2 of Spell Pierce, and a 2 Thoughtseize, and 2 Torrential Gearhawks. So we'll get a little bit more into what I was talking about with Bitter Blossom now. So Tidehauler Scholar, Thoughtseize, and Torrential Gearhawk make up our, I guess you'd say, semi-transformative sideboard. We're not going to be able to completely swap out, but if we play against a deck with a lot of graveyard hate, we can just bring out some of the graveyard cards, bring out an Iona, bring out Grizzlebrands, maybe bring out some of the Reanimator spells, bring in Tidehauler Scholar, bring in Thoughtseize, bring in Torrential Gearhawk, bring in maybe Liliana, but bring in the Bitter Blossoms, bring in the Collective Defiance, and suddenly we've got a different deck than they remember. So the Tidehauler Scholar is really nice because we can just see what's in their hand, we can take something. It was a debate between this card and the new Pirate from Ixalan. I still like sticking with this guy. Tidehauler Scholar is a classic card, and it's really good. We have a 2 of Spell Pierce. We cast a Reanimator spell and keep that up to just throw them off a bit. It's a good card, don't get me wrong. It probably won't do too much. You bring it in against control matchups. You bring it in against combo decks. It ruins combo decks. Thoughtseize is also really good. Usually bringing that in against control deck, you're bringing that in against combo decks. It's a good card. 2 Torrential Gearhawks, which are just good. They're probably one of the best cards in Standard, if you ask me. The ability to just come in, be a 5/6, maybe eat one of their attackers, and cast a spell out of your graveyard is beyond amazing. Maybe you Spell Pierce them, maybe you, I don't know, Mannequin back a creature. Heck, if you have a Lily and you want to, you could bring back a Torrential Gearhawk, use the Enter the Battlefield effect, bring back a Mannequin. The Mannequin grabs a Nessie or an Iona, and you just got like tons of power out of nowhere, and maybe just shut them out of the game. So that's Esper Dynomate. If you like the deck, make sure to check out the tappedout.com thing. I'll try to put the link in the description, and I'll probably include some previous versions of it. It really is a fun deck. I highly recommend you check it out. It can be a little expensive, I do know that. The Snapcaster Mages are $60, like we mentioned in the video, which is absolutely ridiculous. I sold them when they were 20. I had 4 of them. I had 4 of them. So make sure you also like and subscribe to our channel. And also, within the first day of this video being posted, I will answer all comments and questions that you guys post on here. So maybe you want to ask me about the deck or why I chose this over that. I would gladly answer them. We also plan on starting some Twitch streams. So if you want to see us play the decks, make sure you follow us on Twitch. See you next time, guys.